This DVD is on ground proofing. These are non-sportive self-defense techniques if you get taken down in a street fight. About 50% of all fights will end up with both fighters on the ground. If you don't understand anything about basic grappling, you're going to be at a big disadvantage. These techniques can be practiced and used in a relatively short period of time. They're not training for tournament victories, just the basics of ground fighting. Most people will do the wrong thing when taken down if they haven't had any training at all. They'll turn their back on their opponent, they'll try to crawl away. It's very, very dangerous. With just a little bit of live training, you'll make constructive responses if you're ever taken down. These techniques can be done live in practice because they're based on leverage, not based on striking or hitting points or complicated submissions. Our primary goal is to teach you how to defend yourself when you fall, how to defend yourself if you're in a disadvantageous position, how to escape and get back up. So whatever expedites you escaping from the opponent and getting back up quickly is what you want to do. If you get knocked to the ground, you're thrown to the ground and you fall badly and injure yourself, you're not going to be able to defend yourself. So first we learn how to fall. Then we're going to talk about solo grappling exercises. They're exercises you can do on your own to build up the strength and flexibility that you need for the technique, and they'll ingrain the movement in your muscle memory. Then live partner practice. We're going to go over how to do the technique step by step so you can drill with a partner, and then finally demonstrations of the techniques done live against resistance. Once you're confident falling and moving on the ground, you'll be a lot more confident standing up, a lot more relaxed. We're going to deal with two basic situations. The first situation is you're on the ground and your opponent's standing, and the second situation is you're both on the ground. There are four basic principles. The first principle is if you're on the ground, you want to get up as quickly as possible. The second situation is if you're on the ground and your opponent's standing, you need to guard against blows, primarily against being stomped on or kicked, and you want to keep the opponent from coming down on the ground with you. The third principle is you never turn your back on your opponent. When you're escaping, you always have to face your opponent and never turn your back to get up. And the fourth principle is, if you're in a disadvantageous position on the ground, you first have to escape before you can counterattack. It's inefficient to try to apply strikes or submissions from a disadvantageous position. Break falls are the most important part of self-defense. You may never get in a fight, but you're guaranteed to slip and fall sometimes. And in a fight, if you get thrown or knocked down and you hurt yourself, you can't continue the fight. So we're going to learn to do break falls correctly. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. There's a lot of good information on break falls. We're going to go over the basics, and you need to practice these things on a mat or a soft surface until you can fall without any fear. When you break fall, the most important thing is your head doesn't hit the ground. You need to keep your chin on your chest and your body in a tucked position. He's slapping his arms below his hips to take the force out of his torso. You need to slap your arms before your body hits. The feet are up, they're going to be aimed at the opponent, and you need to be in this round curved position. You want to spread the force of the fall out evenly along the soft tissue of your body. Okay, this is the most basic drill for the back break fall. Notice when Maynard rocks back, he tucks his chin to his chest. His hands are slapping below his hips before his back hits. If you slap the mat high by your shoulders, your body will hit the ground before you can dissipate the force, so the force goes into your torso. So he's going to rock back and slap with his arms low, below his hips. Chin's always on his chest, back's round. Now from standing, the next part of the drill, go ahead. Okay. He squatted straight down and put his rear close to his heels. When he rocked back, he did exactly the same thing. Kept his body round, tucked his chin, and slapped his hands below his hips. Okay, again. So squat straight down. As you squat, you tuck your chin. Your hands are ready. Your hands slap below your hips before your back hits the ground. All right, the side break fall. Man is falling to the side now, and he's keeping his arm and leg parallel. His hand and his leg are slapping the ground at the same time. They're dissipating the force. He doesn't want to slap up high because the force will be inside his torso before his arm hits. He's keeping his chin tucked and his head up. This foot's flat on the ground so he doesn't bang the ground, and he's guarding his head and the side of his body with his top arm. All right, stand up. Now, doing this from standing, he's going to swing his arm and leg on the same side across, squat, tuck his chin, and slap the mat before his body hits. It's the exact same position here. Arm and leg parallel, head up off the mat. And then he's going to get up in the technical rise position and bring his foot back in place and then go to the other side. Finish his fall. Now, rise up. He's going to come up and put his weight on the opposite hand and foot. Bring his hip off the ground and then step back into stance. Again. Rock up on the opposite hand and foot and then step back into stance. So the leg that's extended stays extended, the bent foot supports the weight, and the extended hand bears the weight. He rises up and steps back into stance. This move is going to be important later when you learn to get up against an opponent. Okay. Okay, he's falling forward. It's your natural reaction to put your hands out. It's okay. What you can't do is lock your arms. If you lock your arms, the force of the fall will come back through your elbows and shoulders, and you'll damage your shoulder, elbow, or wrist. So when his palms touch, he uses a little bit of force to decelerate his descent. He's not trying to stop himself. He turns his head just in case his hand slips so he doesn't fall straight in the front of his face. Okay. Now from standing, if you have your feet blocked and you tripped and pushed forward, you're automatically going to reach out. So he's going to fall forward and reach out, but then he's going to decelerate himself. It's just the same. It's like doing the negative portion of a push-up. You don't have to have a lot of strength, just enough to slow down your descent. One more time, please. Don't lock your arms. Your elbows are bent, and you lower yourself in a push-up. Okay, when you're on the ground, there's a basic defensive position, the basic guard position. If I'm on my back, I need to be in this position, my chin tucked, my feet up, my elbows in close to my body. I need to stay flat at first so I can move, and I always have to keep my feet pointed towards my opponent. Okay, there's a few things you can't do. Say I get knocked down. The first thing is I can't turn away from him and get up. It's one of the basic principles. If I turn my back on him, he's going to kick me in the back, or he's going to jump on top of me, and I'm going to be in a worse position. I can't get up without guarding my head. If I try to get up forward, he'll hit me in the face. If I'm on one side and I'm not mobile, I'm trying to kick with one leg, it's easy for them to kick your leg out of the way and attack you again from the rear. So I need to be in this basic defensive posture when I hit the ground. The first most basic exercise is called circle rocking. Circle rocking allows me to circle my body and keep the opponent at the end of my feet. So for exercise value, you can practice with your arms off the mat. When you actually use it, you can use your elbows to help you turn. So we'll do it the exercise way. I'm going to keep my feet in the guard position, my arms off the mat. I move my hips to the right and my shoulders to the left. And I go in a low rocking motion like this. My chin's off the ground. I want to avoid lifting my hips too high or rocking my head up too high. So I move my hips and shoulders and I turn in a circle. When you're actually using it, you use your elbows to help push. As you move your hips, you push and pull with your elbows. So it makes it easy to turn. Okay. You need to keep the friction off the part that you're moving. When your hips go up, it's easy to move your hips. When your shoulders come off the ground, it's easy to move your shoulders. The second exercise are the guard kicks. So from the guard position, it's this simple. I just extend my legs one after another in a bicycle motion this way. I don't want to kick too high. The opponent will be able to push my feet over my head. So I lay here and I alternate my feet this way. I keep my chin on my chest and I look between my legs at where the opponent will be. All right, the first partner drill now is to practice aiming my feet at my opponent and using the circle rock. Remember, if your opponent gets behind you or on the side of you, you're in a bad situation. So when I'm down like this, I need to keep him at the end of my feet. So in this drill, I'm not going to kick. He's going to circle me, and I'm going to follow with low rocks. Use my elbows like we talked about. And he switches direction, follow the other direction. So now he can switch at random. Wherever he goes, I follow. I track exactly at his legs. This drill is an extension of the last drill. In this drill, Gabe's going to circle me, and when he comes into my range, I'm going to kick him in the leg to make him back up again. So remember, when you're on the ground, he has to stay outside my kicking range, or I'll kick him in the legs. So the radius of a circle is large. It allows me more time to turn. If he steps in a step, he gets inside my range, I kick him in the shin, knee area. I don't try to kick him high, because it's easy for him to throw my leg out of the way. So I'm going to turn my toes out a little and kick him in the shin, knee, and he's going to have to back up. So in the drill, he's going to circle me, I track him. If he comes close, boom, I kick, he backs up. I track, every time he comes close, I kick, he backs up. Now, this is just a timing and distance drill, I don't have to kick real hard. Again, boom, he backs up. I track him, boom, he backs up. This is the drill. Okay, the next drill, I'm going to practice my kick for real. When he has his shin pads on, your partner has his shin pads on, you can't kick him full force in the leg. It's a distance timing drill. Now my partner's going to come in with a pad. You can use any kind of pad you want that he can hold. I'm going to be in my guard position when he comes forward. I'm going to kick it full force. I'm going to track him as he moves, and kick when he gets close. Another thing that happens when you're on your back, besides the opponent circling and stepping in, is he throws kicks at your legs. So if I'm on my back, Gabe comes in, I'm tracking him, he starts to throw a round kick at my leg. He wants to kick me across the leg, knock my legs to the side and come in behind me. So when he goes to kick me, I meet it with my foot turned out. So he comes in with the kick, I kick it back. I kick it back. My other foot stays in front of my center. Now we're going to talk about how to get up once you've kicked the opponent away. This is called the technical rise. So the first drill is rocking up. So I rock up to the sitting guard. I rock up, one foot is bent back and the other foot goes flat on the mat. I post my rear hand on the ground and my other hand comes up to guard my head. I keep my chin on my chest, I rock back, and I come up side to the sitting guard. Notice I'm rolling along my arm like a rocker. This is very inefficient. To get to your elbow and then to your hand is too slow and it wastes energy. So when I rock up, I rock along my arm to the side. Along my arm. The other hand covers my head always. Okay? If I post my right hand, my left foot's on the ground. My right leg's bent underneath, my left hand covers my head. This is the first part of the exercise. The second part of the exercise is to come to the sitting guard and then lift your hip off the ground. You want your hips vertical. Your top hand guards your head and your bottom leg's off the ground. Then I sit back down and I rock up to the other side. Lift my hip. Lift my hip. After you lift your hip, you chamber your leg back. You can practice swinging your hips forward and kicking, and then going back down. I rock up, chamber my leg back, kick, and I go back down. Remember to rock along your arm, hips up, kick, use your hips, thrust your hip forward, and kick. Kick. And then the last part of the exercise ties in with the get up from the side break fall. Now that I've kicked the opponent away, I want to get up facing him, protecting my head. So I rock up the same way. I kick, then I raise my hips a little higher, step back into my stance and stand back up. And I'm always looking at my opponent. I rock up, kick, raise my hips, step back. You want to move away from your opponent as you're getting up. You're vulnerable when you're getting up. Kick, make space. Go back down, rock up, kick, make space. My hand always guards my head. This drill is the full power kick before the rise. So I rock back, I rock up, kick the pad, and then I go back down. I rock up to the technical rise position and kick with the bottom leg and go back down. And I continuously focus forward where my opponent is. Be sure you cover your head. And this last drill here is the same drill as before. I'm going to kick the pad, full power, and then I'm going to rise, get up with a technical rise. So, rock up, kick it, raise my hips, and stand. Make sure I cover my head. Now I'm knocked to the ground, and before I can kick the opponent and get up quickly, I end up in an inferior position. In this case, he tackles me or knocks me down, and he comes in close, and he's squatting and hitting me. My feet are past his hips, so I can't kick him immediately. So here, he can hit me in the head, and I have very little force hitting back up. So I need to make space. I bring my knees together and extend my hips. Now when he goes to hit me, he can't reach. Then I can hold his hip away, make space, kick, and I'm back in my defensive position. Also, if he's on the ground, on his knees and very close, and he's holding me, maybe he's hitting me, I can't get my feet in to kick him, I'm getting hit here. So I need to turn in place to my side and bring my shin across his chest, hold him, stretch my body so he can't reach, square up, start kicking. Back in my defensive position. If my opponent is taking me down or has got between my legs and he's holding on and he's squatting and I can't get my feet far enough up to kick, I have to make space. Here it's easy for him to hit me. I can't hit him back very hard. I can't kick. What am I going to do? So I bring my knees together and I extend my hips. So this body lever makes it too long from my knees to my shoulders. He can't reach my face. Then I torque my hips a little and put one foot on his hip. I drop my hips and push him away, and I'm ready to kick. I kick, and then I'm back into my defensive technique. Right, one more time. He's too close for me to kick. Maybe he has a hold of me, it doesn't matter. All I have to do is raise my hips and put my knees together. Turn my hips a little, block the hip, push away, start kicking, kick low, and then you're ready to rise. The second situation is he's on his knees, or maybe on one knee, he's close to me. He's got a hold of me usually, he's punching me here. Same problem. Now he's so close, I can't bring my knees together. So what am I going to do? Either side I want to go to, I cover my head, I turn my hips in place, that hip movement, put my shin across his chest, my other foot goes on his hip. When he tries to hit me and I'm covering, I stretch my body, now he can't reach. When he can't reach, I keep the bottom foot on his hip so he doesn't come forward. I turn and I kick, and then I can rise. Okay, one more time. So now he's so close on the ground, I can't bring my knees in directly. Cover my head, bring your knee up, turn, foot on the hip, stretch away, keep this foot on his hip so he can't follow you. Turn, and now he has to move, he's going to get kicked. In this case, you can kick him in the head because he's low, and then I can escape. All right, now I'm mounted. This is the top mount. This is one of the worst positions you can get into in a real fight. Gabe can punch me with all his upper body weight and gravity, and I can't reach his face. I have a hard time hitting from here. I have to get out of here. Counterattacking from here is usually a waste of energy. So this is one of those positions that you don't want to get into, and you need to escape quickly. This solo exercise is one of the most important exercises you can do for your game when you're on your back. It's used in almost every technique, offensively and defensively, the hip move. There's several variations of it. This is one of the basic ones. I'm going to move my hips away 90 degrees and my body will travel away down the mat. So I lay in the guard, my feet are on the mat. I post my left foot, I turn to my right shoulder, my elbows are in close. I extend my left leg and I jackknife my hips up 90 degrees and I reach for my toes. Then I straighten my body up, bring my right foot up. Go onto my left shoulder, extend my right leg, move my hips out 90 degrees. My body turns into a 90-degree angle. I roll back on my back, and I repeat. Then my left foot comes up, go onto my right shoulder, push and move away. Right foot up, go onto my left shoulder, I jackknife 90 degrees and move. This exercise is called leg thrusting. I'm going to bend my knees and then extend my body straight up on my shoulders. It's important not to kick your feet behind your head. You want to kick your feet straight up like you're trying to touch the ceiling and extend your hips. Then I'm going to bend my knees, rock up and extend my legs forward. So I'm going to get power in my center for hip extension. So I rock back and I try to touch the ceiling. Then I bend my knees and I stretch my legs straight ahead. Straight up. Try to pause on your shoulders for a second and pause to rebalance. Straight. Up on your shoulders, bend your knees, extend straight. Okay, this is the basic bridging exercise. I want to bridge up on my shoulders and arch my hips as high as possible. So I keep my heels close to my hips, my elbows in close, and I lift my pelvis up as high as I can so my back is arched as high as possible and my legs are strong, and my feet are flat on the ground. This is the first basic movement. I bridge up high, and then I twist to one side. I keep my elbows close to my ribs, I twist my hips and my shoulders and touch the mat by my face. It's important when you do this that your knees stay pointing directly upward. So I lift my hips, I twist and touch the ground. My feet are flat, my knees are pointing straight up. Inhale on the way up, and exhale on the way back down. This exercise, I'm going to kick to my knees. I'm going to go from my back to my base on my knees. So I raise my hips in the same basic bridge as the last one. I extend one leg, and I bring my hips over my arm. This hand posts on the mat. My leg travels over, and I bend my knees, and I come to this position, the kneeling position. I bring my hips up, extend one leg, bridge over, bring my arm behind my back, drop my inside knee, then my other knee comes over. And then I just go back to the start position, and repeat it on both sides. Hips high, straighten my leg, bring my hips over my bottom arm, touch the mat, my bottom knee's already on the ground, and I kick over to the other knee. So, this way. I'm mounted. The first thing I want to do is keep him from getting his knees up under my armpits. If he comes up high, my hips have no force. They don't have any effect on him. So I wiggle back and I bring my elbows in close to his thighs to make a fulcrum. If he strikes me in the head, I can't raise my hands up and defend. I'm going to get hit anyway. He's going to bring his knees high. It's going to get worse and worse. If he's hitting me, I need to bring my head up here. Now, there's no effective way to defend against blows on your back. You just have to get out of here. The longer you lay here, the more you get hit. My elbows are in close. I bring my feet up here. When he goes to hit me, I bridge my hips up as high as I can and try to throw him over my head. Now, I need to keep my hips up. If I drop my hips, he'll just sit back up and start hitting me again. So when he goes to strike me, I bridge. I keep my hips up. I reach on either side of his arm and I pull at the elbow where it bends. I pull his elbow inward and lock it tight. My elbows come in tight. My hands are holding tightly. You need to block the arm and the leg on the same side so that once one side's blocked off, I can bridge him over. Sometimes you can trap the foot with your foot, but oftentimes he'll bring his knee up. Now I can't trap. If I can't trap this foot and I try to bridge, he'll step this foot up and I can't bridge. He'll never get him off me. So once I'm up in the bridge position, I have his arm, I throw my leg out and I put my hip on his lower leg. Now his leg's pinned. I bring my other foot up close, my heel close to my hips. I look over my shoulder. I don't bridge sideways. I bridge over my shoulder. I look over my shoulder and I lift my hips even higher and he will fall off. He can't stop because he can't post his hand or foot. When I come up into this position, in the guard position, his guard, I keep my head down so if he hits me, he doesn't hit me in the face. I put my hands on his hips, my foot in the middle, and I back away. Okay. Again. He's mounted. I have my elbows in on his thighs. I never let him get his knees under my armpits. I bring my feet up. I bridge my hips up. He puts his hands down. He can't strike. With my bridge high, I trap, drop my leg. I adjust his side a little bit more. Look over my shoulder, bridge, put my head down, block his hips, back away. He might hit me on top of the head, but he won't hit me in the face. All right, this is a variation. If your opponent, your attacker, has your neck already, they're trying to punch in the side of the head, you're stuck here. There's no momentum to tip them forward. But this arm's already trapped behind my neck. So I reinforce it here with my hand, and I put my head on the ground so he can't get his hand out. This other hand I'm going to put up under his armpit, on the side of his rib area, with my elbow in tight so he can't attack me. I block his foot with my foot or with my leg, depending on the position. I bring my other leg up close, my right foot's close to my hips. Again, I bridge over my shoulder, and because I don't have much momentum now, I'm going to push with my right hand in his armpit as I bridge. Put my head down, hands on the hips, and I clear myself. So the upside for me is his arm's behind my neck already, so I push my head back into the ground to trap his arm, and I reinforce the hold here, so I keep his arm trapped behind my neck. This other hand, I'm going to grab in his armpit. If he reaches up to hit me, I can always cover a little bit. I never put my arm out. Keep it in close. The same side that his arm's on, that's blocked into my neck, that foot, I either trap his foot, or I move my hip over and trap it by laying my hip on his lower leg. This hand's in his armpit. My right foot is bent up close. I look over my shoulder, and the same thing. I don't bridge straight sideways. I bridge over my shoulder, and this hand helps push. So I bridge and shove a little bit. I put my head down, block his hips so he can't sit up, hop up, and back away. In this situation, I trap my opponent's arm, but he steps up with his leg and stops me from bridging. So, for example, I bridge up, I catch the arm, and when I go to block his foot, he pulls it out. It doesn't feel right. Now, no matter how hard I bridge over my shoulder, his leg will stop me. So if his foot's up, I put both hands on his knee, straighten the same side leg, turn on my hip, and I do the hip move we practiced out from under him. I hold him with my hands. Then I turn my hips and bring my leg in the middle, and I hip move the other direction and put my foot on his hip. Then I square up, and I kick, and then I can get out. Okay, you can also use this technique if the attacker mounts and he has one foot up anyway. Some people put one foot up so they can hit me harder. He has more leverage and more force if this leg's up. So I immediately turn on my side, hip out, turn over, hip the other way twice. It's going to be 2 hip moves. So from this position, block his leg, turn side down, move your hips out. Bring the bottom, this knee through, top knee here, hip out again, foot on the hip, kick. Okay, this is the side control position, also very, very dangerous for me. If he's pinning me down from the side like this, he's got a hold of me, he's got his weight on me, I have no offense from here. He can punch me, he can knee me, and if I defend those, he can go to a better position. So I need to escape this position quickly. This exercise is another variation of the hip move. This hip move's in place. It's called hip move, reverse hip move. So I keep my feet close to my hips, my elbows by my ribs. I post my left foot, I go on my right shoulder, straighten my left leg, and extend my hips back to my body jackknives 90 degrees. My hands stretch down to touch my toes. My support foot's still flat. I use the same leg now to pull myself back to the original position. Then I lift the other foot, I post on the right foot and the left shoulder. I extend my right leg and jackknife my hips 90 degrees again, reaching for my toes. The same foot, the support foot, pulls me back into position. And I repeat it right and left in place. And I make sure I always go all the way in my side so there's less friction for my hips to slide. I'm in the side control position. First of all, I want to protect my arms. He can attack my arms with joint locks and he can punch me. So I want to keep my hands in close, just like I'm standing up covering my head. My arm, my outside arm, is going to be under his neck and my hand's going to be somewhere by his shoulder tight. I want to put pressure on his throat so when he puts his weight down, it's a little bit uncomfortable for him. My far arm, my elbow is inside his hip. I don't try to push with my hand here because I have no leverage. So I drive my elbow down. My bottom leg, I bend my knee and I make a frame. Don't cross your legs this way. Put the foot on the inside of your knee and push it up against his hip. Now I can block knees. If he tries to knee me with my bottom knee, if he tries to knee my head with this knee, I can cover my head. This hand's in tight on his head. If he raises up to hit me, it's easy to push away. So if he's sitting up a little bit, this is my basic defensive position here. Okay, we're here. Now, he's got his weight down on me. I cannot bench press him off me if he's heavy. So what I do is, it's like pushing yourself up from under a car. I hold with my arms and I do the hip move. I post my left foot and I move my hips away from him and I turn on my right side. My right elbow and my right knee come together. I slide through as far as I can. If I can, my left foot, I try to hook over his calf. That keeps him from chasing me and it keeps him from footlocking me if he knows how to grapple. I push away from here, put my foot on his hip, then I can clear this and kick and escape. One more time. As soon as he comes on top, I go to my defensive position. Arms underneath his neck, inside his hip, knee against his hip here. Don't try to push up. It'll be extremely hard to do if they're heavy. Move your hip away. Bring your knee, sit up a second, I'm sorry. You bring your knee and elbow together. Here, drive your knee through. Try to hook your calf over his, hook your foot over his calf. Push away. Put your foot on his hip. You can kick, and then you can get back up. I'm caught in a headlock on the ground. This is a head and arm pin in wrestling or the scarf hold in judo. It's a very strong position for the attacker. He's going to squeeze my head here and punch me in the face, and I have no real effective counterattacking until I escape. This exercise is rocking up to the kneeling squat. I rock back, open my legs a little, raise my hips, then I bend one leg down and keep the other leg almost straight. I use the momentum of bending my leg to rock up to this position. Low over my heel, and I make sure my foot's pointed here. I rock back, open my legs, bend one leg and rock up over it. Open, use the momentum of your hips and your bent leg to rock up. I'm caught in the headlock. The first thing I have to do is protect my face. So when Gabe goes to punch me, I bring both hands up. My outside arm pushes his head away to make a frame. My other hand comes in behind it, and I tuck my face down under his shoulder so he can only hit me on the top of the head maybe. Then I'm going to escape with the same rocking motion I just used in the exercise. I move my hips as far away as I can from my opponent, right? I push his head away as much as I can, and then I rock my hips up, open my legs. I put my top leg over his head. My bottom leg I bend, and I use the momentum to rock up to the same position we just went to. Then I drop on both knees, and I'm free. So here I can counterattack or I can escape. Again. So he goes to punch me, I cover my head, I push his head away. If you don't move your hips away, if I'm close like this, I'll never get my leg over his head. So I need to move my hips out, push his head away a little bit. Then I rock up, bring my outside leg over his head, bend my back leg, rock up, and when you're here, you take your leg off the head, go to your knees, and you're behind, you can escape. This technique is a follow-up from the previous technique. I block his head, and when I move my hips away, he follows me with his hips. So I never get enough distance to bring my leg over his head. So if he wants to follow me, I'll go even closer. I immediately turn into him a little bit, and I swing my outside leg over his hip, and I hook it on his hip. I take my outside arm, and I switch it to the opposite side of his neck, and I grab over his shoulder. Now, I'm not going to try to pull him over with my arm force. I'm going to pull his head over my shoulder as I pull down with my leg. My bottom knee slides under his hips, and I stretch. I stretch him on top of me. So look, I move my hip under, and he's laying right on top of my pelvis. It's easy. Then, I push him over, take my foot off, and I come up into the same position and escape. So I'm in the same position as the previous technique. I push the head away. I try to move my hips. He follows. So I turn back. Swing my leg over the hip and hook. Switch my hand to the opposite side. Don't try to pull with your arm. Bring your knee to his hips and move your hip underneath him. Slide your hip underneath him as you pull with your leg in your hand. He'll end up sitting right on your pelvis. Then just push him off. And you're free.
This is the knee on belly position. My opponent's throwing me down, and he's put his weight on me, and from this position he has a good base from which to punch me in the face, or he can go to a better position. I'm in trouble. So I have to get out of here without trying to push him off with force. I'm in the knee on belly position. I cannot trade blows here. I need to get out from here. And I can't push him straight up off me. He's very, very heavy. So I'm going to put one hand in his pelvis and one hand inside his knee. I never reach up here to push because he'll trap my arm. He can joint lock me. Now I'm stuck. He's going to hit me even harder. So I keep my arms in close, my elbows close to my ribs. This hand, I don't try to push into his knee because it goes right along the force line of his leg into his foot, and it's very, very hard to push. I put my hand inside his knee here. This hand's on his pelvis. I straighten the near leg, take some pressure off. This leg is bent. I do the exact same hip move I did to escape from the side control. I hip move out, and as I hip move out, I push his knee directly down between my legs, not towards him. This way. And then I can make space, kick, escape.
This is the back position. If he gets behind me and has a hold on me, it's the worst position I can get into in a fight. He may have me in a body lock or some kind of bear hug with no hip or leg control. This is bad. If he gets his feet hooked in, this is much worse. This is a proper back mount. The other situation is I get knocked face down and he gets in my back this way and he starts hitting me. Obviously when I'm face down I have no defense. This solo exercise is called the cross guard hip move. So I'm going to lay down and bring one foot over my other leg and post it on the ground. Then I bring my knee through and I lift up and switch hips to the opposite hip. This foot crosses over. I bring my knee through, lift my hips and switch to the opposite hip. And I just continuously step over and hip out from under my leg, left and right. It's important to get a big hip move. Stretch your leg as far over as you can. Okay, this drill is coming to base. My goal is to stay low, not to lift my hips up. The opponent's on my back, it'll be too heavy. So I go on my side and I bring my knee and my elbow together this way. My knee and elbow together. Low. So my elbow and my knee touch. Back here. So I'm on the ground, my opponent's behind me, and he's got me in a body lock. He doesn't have his feet hooked over my hips. So what I want to do is, I want to prevent him from putting his legs over, scissoring my body, or choking me, or getting a better grip. So as soon as we're down like this, I'm going to bridge up on top of him a little bit, and then I'm going to kick both feet to one side, and keep turning 90 degrees with my weight over him. So now my weight's centered right over his center, and I keep turning until his hands start to unlock. When I'm in this position now, I can strike. I can elbow him in the head, I can elbow him back, and once his hands break free, I escape. So an example of this technique is, we're standing up, he gets behind me, I'm in a body lock. I'm trying to do some kind of defense, and he goes down and pulls. As soon as I hit the ground, I want to bridge up high to keep his feet off of my hips. Kick my feet over and turn 90 degrees, weight's on top of him. Strike him, and when I feel he's let go, I can get back up. If he's on my back and I can't immediately turn 90 degrees, for example, he has his hooks in, my hips are controlled, I'm in danger from choking me. So as soon as I get in this position, I need to defend my neck. I reach one hand over my shoulder, the other hand behind my head, I bring my chin down below my arm, and I close my elbows to defend my neck. Once I get to this position, I need to fall to the side. Remember, I can't let go of my neck to take his feet off, he'll choke me. So I need to keep my hands here. Once I'm on my side, I've got his leg pinned down. I take my top foot and I push his bottom foot off and bring my knee above it, turn my hip like the drill we just did, the cross guard drill. Then I push off and move my hips away and I escape. He gets his hooks in,
I immediately defend my neck. I fall to the side, take my top foot, push his bottom foot off, bring my knee over, post my foot, turn my hips towards him, push away, and I can get up. I've been knocked down and my opponent's jumped on my back. I'm flat on the ground. He doesn't have his hooks in. He's not hooking his feet on my hips. But here, of course, this is a very bad position. He can punch me, he can choke me. So I keep my chin tucked down to protect my neck. I don't want to raise up, because if I raise up, he'll hook his feet in and have a better position and smash me back down, and it's worse than it was. So if I'm caught flat like this, I need to bring my elbow and my knee together on one side without trying to do a push-up. Also, he's very heavy. I couldn't get up that way anyway. So I wedge an elbow inside of his knee, keep my head down, and I bring my other knee up inside his shin so my knee and elbow come together. I'm turning underneath him and he's falling off. I lift up a little till I feel him fall off of me, and then I get away.
That was awesome.
Okay. No, no. He's gonna kill me.
And the other hand behind my neck. I tuck my book in your face, dude.
I was gonna play it through, dude. Come on.
Sorry, dude.
This is like
All right, start over.
All right.
Okay. 90 degrees. It's a couple times.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to
Bam,
tell you.
bam, bam. And then roll towards his head and get up. Yeah.
Trying to let go to cover your face.
Yeah, exactly. Hit you once, you kind of let go. That's yeah. Ready?
Yeah. Oh, it's bleeding.
That's nice.